My sunshine, my sunshine, you're my sunshine. Wake in the morning, open my eyes, sunshine on my face, beautiful skies. You're next to me, laying in bed, not just the visions inside of my head.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wedding Wednesday. So, today we're going to talk about the menu. When choosing the menu, I think it would be a great idea to find a hall that also, um, provides the menu. So it will be easier on you. You don't have to be thinking of a venue and then thinking of someone else as a caterer. Sometimes you would get a deal because you're getting the food from the same, location, so to speak. When considering the menu, I know there are dishes that comes mixed like vegetables with meat, vegetable with fish, whatever, and that's great. You want to have your, let's say for your steak and then your chicken and your fish or whatever. However, there are people, keep in mind, there are people that don't eat any of those things. So it will be great to have options with vegetables without any of those, meat or seafood mixed in it. So if someone is a vegetarian, they could have, rice that's mixed with vegetables, whatever, or beans or whatnot, but they also could have a side of steamed vegetables or sauteed vegetables, and so on. Because it's your day and you want it to be great and whatever, but you also wanna make your guests happy. So you wanna go and start testing foods, depending on how close it is to your date. You want to try out the different menus that they have, check out the most popular, I guess, fish dish and the chicken dish and the steak dish, whatever, before you make your final decision. You also get a taste of what their vegetables taste like that are sauteed or stir fried or whatever that's as a side dish. Check out the prices of different, options, compare prices or whatever. But in my opinion, most times you would get a better deal if you get the food, if you're having a banquet hall and they also cater, so you're doing everything in one. As I always say, everything always comes back and intermingles with each other. We're talking about the food, and yes, we still have to talk about the hall or the venue, whatever, you choose to do. And the food also depends on what kind of wedding you're having and what type of venue you're having. The meal you would most likely have at a banquet hall, you won't have at a backyard barbecue or probably a beach wedding or so on. It depends on what, your venue is like. It would, inspire the meal, so to speak. Because if you're having a simple kind of a picnic wedding, you would quicker have something like barbecue and ribs and maybe potato salad or whatever like that. But if you're having a big banquet hall with a big cake and you have a fancy dress with a long train and so on, you want everything to intermingle. You don't want it to look like you just mixed five-star restaurant with a fast food drive-through. You know what I mean? For lack of a better metaphor. So you could start looking into different dishes and what some couples would do when they send out the invitations, they would ask if it's chicken or fish or whatever. But, if you don't want to do it that way, have options for people, have meals that are chicken mixed with vegetables, whatever that, for the people that eat meat, but also have vegetables by themselves for the people who just gonna have like rice and beans with a salad or whatever. You could also have like options of tofu or whatnot if you want to go that far. Or if not, you just have vegetable options minus the tofu. And people would be glad to have vegetable options for the people who don't eat meat or fish. So try not to have just, a lot of times people have a whole lot of variety and this has pork in it, that has fish in it, this has chicken in it. And for the people who don't eat any of those things, they're looking at the menu like, okay, so I guess I'm just having cake. Guess I'm just having cake and candy and drinks because I can't eat anything they have here. You know what I mean? You don't want to have guests in at your event and they're very unhappy. You know what I mean? 'Cause you don't want to be the talk of the town in a negative light. You want your wedding to be something that's memorable for you and your guests and your relatives, you know? And then also, depending on how large your venue is, you will decide if you want a candy bar, if you want a salad bar, if you want, different stations at the event, depending on how big it is and how was the plans for your reception in itself will determine what sort of, layout you want to have. You're going for formal, casual, it all depends. Everything intermingles with each other. So that's why I said from the very beginning, everything goes together. So you can't talk about the cake without talking about the venue. You can't talk about the venue without talking about the food. Everything is one cohesive pattern you're going for. So everything has to kind of blend with each other and not be kind of off. Case in point, if you're having, let's say, a beach wedding and then you have a banquet hall and your cake is a sea theme and the decorations, is shells and so on, and the centerpieces are fish bowls and etc., 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 then chances are you would also want to have a seafood buffet together with other things. But people would expect, being that is a beach wedding, most of your decor is like of that nature of the sea theme, they would expect a seafood platter or station, you know, things of that nature. So everything has to kind of go with each other. So you also have to be thinking what's your theme, what's your color scheme. Everything goes together. So you can start, looking into food options, looking into caterers, and as I say, your best bet in most instances is if you could get a banquet hall that also provides the meals, and then you could go food tasting and pick your favorite out of all the different samples you would get. Sometimes if you're lucky, you get a place that does it all. They have a link with a cake decorator and a florist. Sometimes the one place has a whole list of people that they work with, so you could get, if the place itself doesn't provide everything, they have links to other people, so you could get connections and you could get everything all at once. Package deal, so to speak. You also have to consider, do you want to have servers, like for instance, dressed in black and white or whatnot? Or if that's going to cost extra money, do you want everyone to serve themselves with, I mean, there's the bad part about people serving themselves is sometimes people take, like, one person has a plate with 6 pieces of meat and then somebody else doesn't get any. One person has a plate with 99 crab legs and five other people didn't get any. You know what I mean? So you have to consider all these things. While we're on the topic of the meal, I will just throw this in. We'll do this another day by itself. But while we're on the topic of the meal, I have to throw in the table decor as far as your dishes go. What kind of dishes do you want? Do you want, let's say, for instance, blue plates with silver chargers because you're doing the, under the sea team type of wedding? You want white plates, so ivory plates with gold, depending on what your tablecloths and your drapes and the balloons, all these things are gonna be, and how the cake is gonna be. So everything, it doesn't matter what I'm talking about. You have to connect everything together when you're thinking about, regardless of whatever it is, everything still comes back full circle. Then you also have to consider if one of the person, let's say for instance, is American and the other one is Caribbean. So you have to have two different sets of meals because the Caribbean people will be looking for the jerk chicken and the oxtail and the plantains and whatnot. You know what I mean? Or one person is Indian and one person is Asian. So they're going to want to have, like egg rolls or whatever. And then they're also going to want to have curry. So all these things come into play. So I hope you have a notebook, especially designated to write all your planning, every thought that comes in your head, no matter how minute you might think it is, everything comes together and plays a part to put this puzzle together. The moment you have an idea, you write it down. It could be as simple as what type of topper you want for the cake. Do you want the typical bride and groom? Do you want a race car because you're into drag racing? You know what I mean? All these little things come together to make up the whole big picture. So every time an idea comes to mind, you write down in your little notebook, and then, you could always scratch it off later when you put it together with the other things if it don't match up together. But, no idea is too big or too small. Write down all the ideas, and then in the end, when you make a final decision, you will realize and move things around what doesn't go with what. Also, I hate to throw a wrench in your plans, but you also have to consider if anyone that you're aware of has a food allergy, and you may have to find that out, because the last thing you would want is someone who has, let's say, a peanut allergy and they fry chicken with peanut oil. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to find out. Sometimes people bring people, you invite somebody and they bring a plus one, or you mightn't even be aware of this. But, if you know beforehand that someone has a food allergy, you would know that person will have to have, a particular plate or stay away from a particular dish, because the last thing you want is somebody gasping for air at your wedding and the ambulance has to come because something was prepared with peanut oil, or they could only eat gluten free and something full up of gluten. You know what I mean? I know it's a lot to think about, and then you're thinking, where's she coming now with this food allergy thing? But I mean, it's something you might not even thought of, but it came to mind, and I had to bring it up. If you don't know, you don't know, but then you don't want that on to mess up your day. Forgive me if you just heard a plane fly by. Oh my God. I've been trying to record this for like, I don't know how many hours, and every time I have to do it over because a car horn is blowing, the doorbell is ringing, you know, somebody's cutting grass. Lord help me. Anyway, as I was saying, okay, back to the regular scheduled program. Yes, you don't want to mess your day up because somebody has a food allergy and, it took away from your moment because you're panic stricken because you got to be calling an ambulance. So little things like that that you might not have thought of, you also have to think when you're ordering the food. If you know in advance, well, so you would know what dishes have what. So probably, you could warn a particular person or two, well, this has, peanut oil, or this has, this is not gluten free, or whatever the case may be. If someone has you know, a real allergy to something that will cause them to end up in a hospital. So that's all we're going to cover today. And I am very sure this will come back up in another video when we're talking about maybe the table, the centerpieces, or the tablescape, or whatnot. Everything, revolves. So the main topic is thinking about the menu. Okay, guys? Hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you have subscribed already, thank you. And please share this video with your friends or relatives that are getting married. Love you guys. See you in the next video. Cheers.
Ain't no question, to you I belong. And baby, you know that my love is strong. You're the hot chocolate, and I'll be your cup. Come here, my darling, please fill me up.